Okay, I think we're ready to make a start with our second live online session of the week. As always, please do know that I want this very much to be a course where you have a chance for direct interaction as much or as little as you wish. Even though we are an asynchronous course, it's important for me that we create these times and spaces for us to interact. So having said that, let's have a look what we've got lined up for this week. So this week is the week when we're taking our first exam and our first practical test as well. And I want to talk a little bit about those and outline so that you have clear idea of expectations, what's being asked from you, what to expect with both tests. As always, I do record these sessions. If there's discussions that students feel that they want to have outside the recording, I'm more than happy to post that. But I want to make these sessions available for also any of the students who might not be able to join us in real time and have that interaction. This is an asynchronous course. There's no expectation that you have to be present at a certain day, certain time. You have a week to do the assignments, and however you distribute that workload for yourself is totally up for you to choose. So that's why I do also record these sessions and make them available for those students who are unable to join in that format. Normally, I would spend a little bit of time doing a check-in. I think that the biggest thing that I want to highlight from here is that it helps me tremendously when I hear what's working well and where we can do even better. So never hesitate to share your thoughts. You have multiple ways of doing so. You can just reach out to me. You can through Canvas messages, through email. You can join one of the office hours. I offer those virtually for this class as well. You can join these live online sessions, and we have amazing discussion forums. There's some really good discussions taking place this week where there's a lot of sharing of ideas and tips from your peers of how to succeed in exams, how to prepare, how to tackle the material. So I really encourage using those spaces, and those spaces can be also for ideas of how we can improve or what we should keep doing if something is either something where we have an opportunity or that you would like to us to see continuing as well. So I very much encourage you to utilize those opportunities. I do again realize that students have many commitments. So if none of those formats or times work for you, I am always open and always willing to find a day and time that works for both of us, and we can then meet, whether it's remotely or through a phone call, or even if you want to come to the campus and meet on the campus. But the big thing is that you know that you're not on your own. Having said that, I do realize that many of you are acing this course and doing really well with the resources and support that you have available. So let's keep that going. In terms of the live online sessions, this week is a little bit of an exception. So I have a meeting today, and I had a meeting yesterday. Normally we meet on Wednesdays, but I had other college commitments which required us to move that meeting to the Thursday. I am realizing that during the week it is busier time for most of the students, and I will explore other days, other times as well. Having said that, I do have quite a lot of commitments, both in terms of teaching and other duties at the college. So it unfortunately needs to be a compromise where we can find that we have an opening and we can facilitate it to work for as many students as possible. So talking about the homework for this week, you really only have two pieces of homework to do. Both of those are tests, and both tests cover only 3 chapters. So we're covering chapter 1, chapter 6, and chapter 7. And we're doing an exam which really covers the lecture material. So when you're studying all of that, those pre-recorded lecture videos and supplementary material that I provide you, similar questions as you would see in chapter quizzes. That's what's covered on the exam. And practical then instead is going to be all about the practice anatomy questions, assignments, looking at structures. Anatomy and physiology is largely of looking at things, identifying things. So that's what we're doing on the practical. Both of these assignments are due at the end of the week. So that's going to be Sunday. I believe it's going to be September 29th. And the due date for both assignments is 1 minute before the midnight. So I very much encourage you to consider starting earlier than that, though. If you start at 11:50, it doesn't mean that you still have the full test time. The test will close at 11:59. So please don't leave it to the last minute. The other benefit of not leaving it to the last minute is that if we have any issues, say that you have your computer technology acting up, you have internet connectivity issues, things like that, sooner you contact me, sooner I can help you with that. So I really, really do ask you that you don't anticipate that I'm gonna be there at 11:59 on Sunday night to troubleshoot. I will try, but I'm gonna be honest, I also have early Monday morning class to teach. So sometimes on Sundays, I do like to go to bed before midnight. If that was the case, you would hear back from me first thing on Monday morning. But I would again prefer if you can have a go of these tests a little earlier rather than later. Earlier you start, more chances we have to address any concerns, any issues, and so on. So what I was going to do next was that I was going to go through both the exam and the practical, what to expect, what type of questions are coming up. And I even have, I think, an example question of each one to share with you so that you kind of can orientate yourself in terms of the expectations on those. So let's start by looking at the exam 1. And with the exam 1, we're covering chapter 1, which was the introduction to human anatomy and physiology. Chapter 6, which was all about integumentary system. And integumentary system was, of course, our skin and associated structures. So associated structures would be glands, especially sweat and oil glands, nails, and also hair. So that's what we're looking at chapter 6. And chapter 7, which really served kind of as an introduction to the bone tissue and skeletal system. So we started by looking at cartilages. Remember, all bones started as cartilage that then ossified and turned into bone. We also discussed about the bone tissue in general and skeletal system in general. So those are the 3 chapters that I'm asking you to prepare for the exam 1. You might notice when we're looking at this that obviously we've covered a few other chapters in addition to those. But those other chapters were basically revision from your introductory biology courses, which are prerequisites for this class. So we looked at, for example, chemistry of life. We looked at cell structure, tissues. We also looked at genetics a little bit. All of those are things that there is an expectation that you're already familiar with from your previous studies. However, I do realize that many students, some students are moving immediately from those prerequisite classes to these anatomy and physiology classes, and some students might have had a break in between these two. So we took that time to bring everyone kind of to the same place that we have shared understanding of those basic concepts. But because they are basic concepts that you've already learned in other classes, I'm not going to test you on something that you've already been tested on. So that's why we're covering those 3 chapters and 3 chapters only on this exam. In terms of what type of questions to expect, there's a broad range of questions. All of these questions are completed on Canvas, so it includes true-false statement, it includes multiple choice, it includes matching assignments, it includes potentially fill in a blank, it could include range of questions with the intention of giving you a chance to showcase your knowledge of those chapters in multiple different methods. You will have a time limit for taking this exam. So once you start it, you should finish the exam on the same setting. So I ask you that you only start the test when you're ready to go and focus on that. Once you start it, the countdown timer will start. And I realize that sometimes students are very anxious and very nervous about timed exams. But my recommendation and advice to you is that please, please, please know I'm not here out to catch you. I want you to be successful, but at the same time, we do need to hold some accountability. So my students normally have more than ample amount of time left to spare at the end of an exam. Really, what we're setting that time limited for is that we don't have cheating. Since this is not a proctored test, you do not need to use lockdown browser, you don't need to use virtual proctoring. The time limit prevents that issue. So you can use your notes, you can use your textbook. However, my advice is to prepare for the exam so that you don't have to be looking up every question on the exam from your notes, because there will not be enough time for you to study for the material for the first time. The notes are there mainly if there's one or two tough questions that you want to double check your answer. You have that option, but the expectation is that you are most of those questions able to answer from your memory. And the reason why I do allow the use of notes has very much to do with how I approach medical and clinical field. In clinical field, I would rather encourage you to double check something if you're uncertain of it than just guess and hope for the best. So it's not unusual for us to be checking drug dosages, drug contraindications, things like that. That is part of how medicine works. So I want you to get to the habit where you know where you will find the answers. So that's why doing good notes, having those notes organized and knowing where to find the answers if you need to double check some facts, that's totally okay. However, the purpose is not that you're going to look up every single question and open your textbook for the first time and start studying for the first time when you take the exam. So I hope that that sets the scene of what to expect. My biggest advice, students sometimes ask me how to prepare for the exam. It is those chapter quizzes that you've been doing throughout the weeks that really prepare you for the exam. So please make sure that you check those. Please make sure that you are comfortable with those. That's the biggest revision that I can recommend. So that's our exam one. I have a couple of example questions of the exam one there on this right bottom corner of the screen. The first question is a true-false question, and it says that negative feedback negates or reverts a trend. And it's asking, is that statement true or false? And what we'll end up finding is that it very much is the truth. So most physiological processes and physiological responses in the body do act through negative feedback in your body. So we have a stimulus, that's something that's changing, and we have a reference range, which is the set point where we want that stimulus to be. And then you had your detectors or receptors, and they recorded that stimulus, compared it against that set point at the control center, which was usually the brain. And if we fall outside that set point in a negative feedback, we then recruit effectors trying to bring that stimulus back within that acceptable range of values. So if that's the case, that is very much of a negative feedback, negating or remediating a trend. We want to stay at the homeostatic feedback mechanism in the good set of values or acceptable set of values, which is known as our set point. So I hope that that helps. I hope that that makes sense and kind of sheds some light to how to approach these questions. I have another example question there asking you to complete a sentence, and the sentence reach most anatomical terms can be traced to what and what. And we're seeing that it is especially the Latin and Greek languages that are the basis of the roots of most terms that we see in anatomy. Many of them have been made more English, anglicized, but really the root of the word often is either from Greek or Latin languages. So again, on that question, you would be presented multiple options and you would choose the most correct option to complete that sentence. So I hope that that helps you now have an idea of what to expect in the exam. Let's have a look of our practical. Practical covers the exact same as chapters in terms of that we're looking at chapter 1, Introduction to Human Anatomy and Physiology. During that, we talked about many different kinds of movements, body planes, body cavities, and so on. We looked at integumentary system. There we have multiple levels. We looked at microscopic level. We looked at larger level. We looked at gross anatomy level of the skin, associated structures that go with the skin. And then chapter 7, which was about different cartilages and bone tissue and skeletal system at large. So again, lots of questions that would be visual questions that I could ask. Again, the format is the same, single setting test. So once you started, I'm expecting you to finish it on that same setting. I do allow non-proctored settings, so no need for lockdown browser or no need for remote proctoring. You can use your notes, but again, I would suggest that most of these questions should be very easy, quick for you to answer. I don't mind if you need to double check one or two, but there probably isn't going to be enough time to look up every single question. Rather, again, I want you to check what you don't know and know where to find answers to what you don't know. But the idea is that in medicine, we want to be certain what we're doing, but we also do want to have a solid grasp of concepts. So make sure you're prepared, make sure you know where your notes are, how your notes present things. If you need to find a particular section of the notes, then you have that accessible. The best way to practice for the practical is really those practice anatomy assignments that you've been completing each week. They're a really good way of kind of anticipating what type of questions might come up. So in practical, I'm showing you a picture and I'm asking you to choose the most correct option from predetermined answer options so that you can answer to that question. So I hope that that makes sense in terms of what to expect on practical 1. Here I have a sample question. We're being shown different body planes around a human being, and one of them has been pointed out with an arrow, and it's asking you to identify what that body plane would be. Well, out of the answer options that you would see below, on this case, you could, for example, choose frontal plane. Frontal plane divided your body into front and back side of the body. The other term that we sometimes see for the frontal plane is coronal plane, which again divides your body into front and back side. Think of coronal plane like putting on a crown where your hands would be moving when you're doing that. So I hope that that kind of gives you an anticipation of what to expect in terms of the practical. And that brings us really to the end of everything I wanted to say in preparation of this week, in preparation for the tests. I do know tests are sometimes a little nerve-wracking, but you're all doing incredibly good work on this class. And the reason why I have so many tests is that you can collect those points in multiple ways. But if one test doesn't go the best you've ever taken, it's not the end of the world for your final grade. Having said that, though, these tests, both exams and practicals, do carry a significant amount of points. So I would strongly discourage you from skipping an exam or practical. They add up to so much of the points towards your final grade that might not serve your best interests if you just keep skipping those. So now at this point, we come to the end of our live online session. Normally, I would open the floor and we would have discussions. I do want to remind those of you who are not able to join these sessions that you have so many ways of interacting, not just with me, but your peers as well. Please utilize that. Forming that sense of community is something that we're very much of advocates for, and I think that will give you a better learning experience. But at this time, I think that that's all I can think of to share. I think that that about wraps it up. If you have any questions, do let me know. Remember, I'm available to you in multiple ways, multiple times, multiple days. All you have to do is let me know how I can help you, and I will do everything in my power to assist you. I think this is a good time for us to finish off this session. Thank you again for those of you who joined this session as a recording. I very much appreciate you being part of this class, and I look forward to observing good conversations on discussion forums. I look forward to seeing good work coming in, and next week we'll move on to a new system. Until then, thank you and bye.